What if the person you care about the most, your mother, your father, your partner, or the grandparent who once held you in their arms, was slowly fading, and you had no idea? What if the signs were already there? Quiet, gentle signs like soft whispers in a room filled with everyday noise? So easy to miss while life moves fast around you. Imagine sitting across from them, thinking you still have time. Time for more conversations, more laughter, another holiday, another story. Just one more. I love you. But what if that time was already slipping away? We all know aging is a part of life. But sometimes, without warning, the body begins to send signals. These signals are not loud. There are no alarms, no flashing signs, just subtle changes, soft and slow. And if you are not watching closely, you might see them as nothing more than typical aging. But sometimes, these signs mean much more. Let me share a short story. It's about a woman named Margaret. She was 82 years old, lived on her own, and had once been a sharp-minded school teacher. She loved tending her garden, baking every Sunday, and never forgot a single birthday for any of her 5 grandkids. Then one day, her daughter Anna noticed something was different. Not something serious, just different. It began at the dinner table. Margaret, who always enjoyed roast chicken and lemon pie, started saying she wasn't hungry. Anna thought maybe she was just tired, or the meal wasn't to her taste. But it kept happening. Again and again. The fridge stayed full. Plates of food went untouched. Snacks Margaret once loved were left behind. Slowly, she began to lose weight. Not in a big way, just small changes. Her pants fit looser. A bracelet slid past her wrist. Anna tried everything. She brought new recipes, sweet desserts, childhood favorites. "Come on, Mom, just a bite," she would say. But Margaret would just smile softly and reply, "I'm just not hungry, sweetheart." That's when Anna knew it wasn't really about the food. Today, I want to talk to you about signs like this, the quiet ones, the kind that slowly show up, the kind that, if missed, could cost you the chance to truly be there during the most important moments of someone's life. We are going to explore 5 gentle signs that might mean an elderly loved one is in their final year. These signs are not always easy to spot, but they are meaningful. They are based on what hospice nurses, caregivers, and families have noticed over time. By the end of this video, you will know what to watch for and how to offer care, respect, and love in the moments that matter most. So please stay with. Missing these signs doesn't just mean missing a diagnosis. It could mean missing your last goodbye. Let's begin with the first sign, one that many families often overlook at first: a steady and quiet loss of appetite. Have you ever had a meal with your elderly loved one, maybe lunch or dinner, and notice they barely touch their food? Maybe they eat a few bites and then slowly push their plate aside. Maybe they say, "I already ate," or "everything just tastes off." You might think it's no big deal. Maybe they're tired, or their taste buds are changing, which happens with age, right? But here's what many people do not know. This small change in eating patterns can actually be one of the earliest and most important signs. These are signs that the body may be beginning to slow down. As a person nears their final phase of life, their body naturally stops needing the same amount of energy. The digestive system becomes slower, metabolism adjusts, and the hormones that manage hunger and fullness respond less actively. But it is more than just a physical shift. The emotional and mental connection to food starts to change as well. When someone is approaching the end, they often begin losing interest in food. Not only because their body needs less, but also because their focus starts turning inward. They stop thinking about future meals, next week's plans, or the coming season. Their attention moves to reflection and quiet moments. Meals that once brought joy or comfort or were a regular part of life, no longer hold meaning. But this change does not always look obvious. It does not usually come as a strong refusal to eat. It starts gently. A favorite meal goes untouched. Half a sandwich sits in the fridge, forgotten. The grocery list no longer gets made. Weight loss goes unnoticed, until one day you see how the ring now slides freely, or how their hands look thinner as they hold a teacup. This is what happened with Margaret. She was not starving. She simply had no desire to eat. Her appetite faded slowly like evening light fading behind the hills. Calm, unstoppable. This is a moment many families struggle with. They try everything, they encourage, they insist. Just one more bite, Mom. They feel helpless. They cook more, shot more, press harder. But the reality is, it is no longer about how many calories they eat. What your loved one may truly need now is not more food, but more presence. If you see these signs, change your approach. Instead of pushing them to eat, sit beside them. Offer small portions of something they still enjoy, not to feed their body, but to share a moment. Sometimes, a bowl of soup shared quietly, or a hand resting gently over theirs, can speak louder than any words. Try not to make food into a struggle. Let it become a way to connect. Because at this stage, the goal is not to reverse what is happening, it is to honor it. So if someone close to you seems to be quietly pulling away from meals, understand that you are not alone. It does not mean giving up. It means changing from doing to simply being there. From trying to fix things to truly feeling them. From feeding to really seeing. And if this sounds familiar, if you have seen it in someone close, write yes in the comments. Your experience might help someone else feel less alone. Coming up next is another sign that is even harder to recognize and even easier to misunderstand. But once you notice it, you will not be able to forget it. Please stay with me. Each of these signals is like a gentle whisper from the heart. If we listen closely, we may begin to understand what our loved ones are trying to tell us. Now let us talk about something even softer, even quieter. Something many families do not notice until they are looking back with sadness and questions, wishing they had seen it earlier. It is the silence. Not the kind that comes from peace, but the kind that arrives slowly and covers someone who once brought light to every room. Have you ever stepped into a space where your aging loved one used to sit, someone who once made you laugh with their stories or gave advice that stayed with you your whole life, and now they are just there, quiet. Their eyes seem distant. Their smile is gentle, but it doesn't quite touch their eyes. Maybe they used to call you weekly, wanting to know everything, how your children, how work was going, what was new in your life. Now, the phone is still. They respond if you reach out, of course, but it feels different. Their answers are shorter. Something is missing. A soft, a quiet nod replaces a full reply. At first, it might seem like they are simply tired or not feeling well that day. You may even wonder if they are upset or no longer interested in what you are saying. But what if that silence means something more? One of the most gentle yet most difficult signs that someone may be nearing their final year is this slow stepping back from conversations, relationships, and daily routines. It is not that they have nothing left to share. It is that they are quietly pulling away from the world around them. And it happens so slowly, it can go unnoticed. Maybe they once laughed and joined in at every family dinner, adding their own stories to the mix. Now they sit quietly at the edge of the table, eyes down, pushing food around their plate. You ask how they are feeling. I'm okay, they say, but it does not sound convincing. Their voice is softer, their energy low. It might begin with avoiding events. First, it is, I think I'll skip it today. Then, no need to invite me next time. Eventually, even phone calls feel like too much. The person who used to ask about your week no longer asks, not because they do not care, but because their focus is shifting inward. Expert psychologists, hospice professionals, caregivers all notice this same pattern. It is not necessarily depression. Even though it may look that way, it is not boredom, though it can appear that way. It is something deeper, a natural process, where the spirit slowly starts to let go of the outside world, the everyday things that once mattered. Routine conversations, family updates, future plans begin to feel distant. Their thoughts start to turn back to their past, to their memories, to the meaning of it all. This is not a conscious choice. It is not a decision they make one morning. It is something that simply happens, a gradual inner shift. For some, this begins just weeks before the end. For others, it can start much earlier. The truth is, we do not always know how much time is left. But this quiet withdrawal often signals that the body and soul are beginning to prepare. What makes this time especially hard is that loved ones often misread it. Children feel ignored. Spouses feel hurt. Why will she not talk to me anymore? Why does dad no longer seem to care? About the grandkids? This quietness feels like growing apart, like something is wrong. But that is not the case. They do still love you. Deeply. In fact, this shift is often a sign of how much they care. Letting go is happening slowly, gently, so it does not cause more pain than necessary. They are remembering, feeling, thinking through everything, but no longer feel the need to speak it out loud. So if you are seeing this change, the worst thing to do is try to force conversation. Do not push them to talk or try to pull them back with endless questions. Instead, just be beside them. Let the silence feel safe. Play their favorite music. Bring out the old photo albums. Watch the movie they used to love. Even if they say little, these shared moments stay with them. And sometimes, just sometimes, you may catch a sign, a quiet comment, a gentle laugh, a hand squeezing yours. That is them. They are still with you, just in a quieter place now. You do not need to fill the space with words, just fill it with care. When my friend Sarah noticed her father pulling away, she assumed he was upset with her. He stopped replying to her messages and barely said anything on the phone. She felt deeply hurt. Then one weekend, she visited and found him sitting by the window, perfectly still. She did not know what to say, so she just sat with him. She held his hand and softly hummed a tune from one of his favorite albums. For a brief moment, he smiled. A tear rolled down his cheek. He did not say anything, but everything was spoken in that silence. If you recognize this kind of withdrawal in someone you love, please know you are not alone. It does not mean you did something wrong. It means something meaningful is unfolding. If you have experienced this or are going through it now, type yes in the comments. Your story might help someone else feel less alone. Because sometimes being understood offers more comfort than words ever could. Now, let us move to another sign, just as subtle and just as easy to overlook. Have you noticed your loved one sleeping more than usual? Not just taking a short nap, but drifting off often for long stretches of time. Maybe they doze off in the middle of a conversation, or seem distant even while awake. You might notice their mornings blending into the afternoon, their day winding down before the evening even begins. Once, they would rise with the sun folding clothes, preparing tea, watering the garden. Now, they struggle to leave their bed. They sleep for hours, yet still feel exhausted. Their steps are slower. Their eyes seem heavier. You begin to ask yourself, is this normal aging? Or is there something more? One of the clearest signs that an older adult may be in their final year is this deep, ongoing tiredness. A strong, quiet kind of fatigue that fills their days. It is not laziness. It is not a lack of interest. It is not just a rough night's sleep. It is the body beginning to slow, saving energy, pulling back. All the systems that used to run constant, heart, the lungs, the muscles are no longer working at full pace. There is no need to rush, no need to keep going. The body begins to rest. And in that stillness, something deeply human happens, as if every part of them understands what lies ahead. Doctors and hospice workers often describe this stage as a key turning point. It does not always mean the end is close, but it does mean that a shift has occurred. The body is no longer behaving the way it used to, and the soul seems to feel it too. A person who once stayed up late to finish a puzzle now falls asleep halfway through. Someone who used to walk out to get the mail now needs help just sitting up. It is not easy to see. You want to help. You suggest vitamins, encourage sunlight, offer more water. You adjust the pillows, make appointments, look up supplements. But the truth is, this part of the journey is not about doing more. It is about being present. It is about seeing, understanding, and accepting. If your loved one is resting more, if they drift into peaceful moments during the middle of the day, let them. Sit quietly beside them. Let your voice be a gentle connection between rest and wakefulness. Massage their hands with lotion. Brush their hair. Just be there, because the time they are awake may slowly become more rare. But that does not make these moments any less important. In fact, they may carry even more weight. If you have seen this deep tiredness in someone you love, take a breath. It is not your fault. It is not theirs either. It is simply life showing itself in one of its quietest and most natural ways. If you have been through this, if you have sat with someone as they drifted in and out of rest, holding their hand and wondering if that nap might become their last, type yes in the comments. Your story matters, and it might help someone else feel a little less alone as they go through something similar. Now, with care and calm, let us move to another sign. One that speaks more to the spirit than the body. One that shows not weakness, but calm. Doctors and hospice teams often notice a very specific pattern in people nearing the end of life. The body, with its deep inner awareness, stops using energy the same way. It slows not because it is failing, but because it is getting ready. There is a natural shift away from doing and toward simply being still. For many families, this change is so slow at first, they do not recognize it. It may begin with their loved one being just a bit more tired than normal. Maybe they cancel a plan or decide not to go out. Maybe they say they had trouble sleeping the night before. It is easy to overlook it. Happens to everyone sometimes. Slowly, and without drawing attention to itself, that tiredness grows. Their habits start to change. They stop going to regular meets, the book club they enjoyed, the garden they once cared for, even the crossword puzzle they always finished. These things begin to slip from their daily routine. Even conversations, which once gave them energy, now leave them feeling drained. Light chats become too much. You will start to notice it in their movements, slower, less steady, as though everything they do takes a little more effort than before. Standing from a chair may take extra seconds. Walking to the kitchen becomes something they need to rest after. Their body, once something they could rely on, now feels heavier. And this is where many people, well-meaning, loving people, misunderstand what is happening. They think their loved one just needs a bit of encouragement. Come on, Dad, let's go for a walk. You will feel better. They open windows, bring in vitamins, try to reset sleeping habits. They want to bring back the energy they remember. But the truth is, this slowing down is not something to be reversed. It is not a temporary phase. It is not caused by sadness or a lack of effort. It is the body slowly letting go of the need to stay busy. And instead of trying to fight it, what if we simply respect it? What if we stopped asking them to match our pace and chose instead to meet them at theirs? What if we sat with them without trying to change anything and just kept them company during these slow, quiet times? What if we saw this tiredness not as something wrong, but as a message? A sign that something natural, even meaningful, is unfolding? If you are seeing this in someone close to you, the most caring thing you can do is to simply stay near. Let go of the urge to wake them or keep them active. Treasure the times they are awake. Speak gently. Tell stories bring comfort. And if their eyes start to close in the middle of one, do not feel discouraged. Let them rest. Let them feel you beside them. Because in moments like these, it is not about how much is said, it is about connection. The quiet feeling that they are not alone. If you have seen this in someone you love, know that you are not the only one. Type yes in the comments if this feels familiar. Sometimes, simply naming what we are experiencing brings a kind of calm no words can match. Now, let us talk about a sign that might be the most peaceful and quietly powerful of all. It is not something you can see on a scale. It does not show in sleeping patterns or how much they eat. It comes as emotional stillness. Have you noticed a loved one, a parent, grandparent, or partner suddenly becoming calmer than they used to be? Maybe someone who once worried over everything, money, weather, health, suddenly stops stressing. The tension that followed them day to day seems to fade. They no longer go over every doctor visit, what if thought. Instead, they begin to say things like, everything will be fine, or I'm thankful for what I've had. You may even catch them smiling at nothing, or quietly looking out the window with a deep, peaceful look. They may start sharing old stories you have never heard, childhood moments, memories of people long gone, or past mistakes they turned into lessons. Sometimes, they reconnect with people they had lost touch with. They apologize. They forgive. These moments feel gentle and surprising. You might even wonder if something is off. How can they seem this calm? But what if this emotional openness is not random? What if this peace is the heart's way of preparing to let go? Hospice teams often call this stage emotional clarity. It is not giving up. It is accepting. It is a way of looking back and finding peace in what life has been, instead of trying to hold on to what is leaving. It is about letting go of life's weight and finally choosing to rest. This kind of peace is not denial. It is not confusion. It comes from understanding deeply and without words that time is short, and there is no more need to fight. It is not giving up on life. It is letting go of the battle. Yet, this peacefulness can be hard for others to accept. Families may not know how to react when someone says, I've lived a good life, or I feel ready. The first reaction is often to say, don't talk like that. You still have time. But maybe the better thing to do is listen. What if we allowed them to speak freely? What if we respected their calm? What if we gave them space to say what they truly feel without interrupting or trying to change it? Because these words, they are not just thoughts. They are parting gifts, final offerings full of understanding, filled with love, words shaped by a life that has been fully lived, and now gently winding down. When my uncle, who had seen war and faced the loss of a child, began speaking with a peace we had never seen before, we did not know what to make of it. He stopped worrying about the world. He talked about those he loved and the places he had been. And one evening, he said, I think I've done everything I was meant to do. 2 weeks later, he passed peacefully in his sleep. That moment of peace became a lasting comfort for our family. So if your loved one starts speaking with calm, with a sense of closure, with a quiet confidence, do not try to stop it. Stay close. Let them share. Ask questions if they are open to talking. And just listen. Even if it is difficult. Especially if it is difficult, because that moment is a gift. A clear look into what they truly feel. And if you have ever seen someone you love reach this place, if they began to let go of fear and speak with that peaceful knowing, type yes in the comments. Your presence during that time meant more. than you may realize. And your story could help someone else stay strong through something similar. Now, we are going to talk about one of the most misunderstood signs of all. It is something both emotional and physical. A sudden energy that appears right before the end. Many people do not recognize it for what it truly is. This brings us to the fifth and final sign. It is one of the hardest to witness, but somehow also one of the most beautiful. It often brings tears even to experienced hospice nurses. It stirs hope in families who want to believe, if only for a short time, that their loved one might be getting better. Like the other signs, it begins gently. Your aging parent, spouse, or grandparent, someone who had grown so weak, someone who hardly spoke, barely ate, and slept through most of the day, suddenly seems different. One morning or afternoon, you walk in and something has shifted. Their eyes are brighter. Their voice is stronger. They sit up on their own and say something they have not said in a long time. I feel good today. They might ask for their favorite foods: mashed potatoes, peach pie, a cup of tea with honey. They might join a full conversation with clear thoughts, remembering names, events, and stories with surprising accuracy. You may even hear a real joyful laugh, one you have not heard in years. And in that moment, it feels like everything has changed. The atmosphere in the room is lighter. You send a message to your siblings. She's better today. You smile. Again, you begin to hope. Maybe you cancel that hospice meeting. Maybe you wonder if the doctors were wrong. Could this be the start of recovery? But what if that bright, beautiful burst of energy is not a comeback at all? What if it is a final, graceful goodbye? Hospice staff often call this moment the rally or the last surge. It is a short but powerful return of awareness, strength, and connection that sometimes appears in the final days or even hours before death. Even though medical science cannot fully explain why, the body after weeks or months of growing weaker seems to gather up what little strength it has left, and it gives it back in one last moment of presence. A final gift to the person and to those they love. It may last only a few hours, sometimes a day, rarely more, but nearly always it is followed by a sudden and lasting decline. In some cases, they return to deep exhaustion the very next day. In others, they pass away peacefully within a few days. Families who witness this shift often find themselves overwhelmed, first with hope, then confusion, and finally, heartbreak. How could she seem so well yesterday, and now this? They ask. The answer is not found in science, but in significance. Many believe that this brief return of energy is the body's final offering, a chance to bring closure. The mind, briefly free from exhaustion, becomes clear enough to say what truly matters, to feel deeply, to say goodbye, not in silence, but with purpose. It is a final act of grace, a quiet embrace before parting. And in those final hours, meaningful things happen. Some reveal long-kept secrets or release regrets that have weighed on them for decades. Others share thoughtful advice with their children, or give comfort to their partner. Some ask to see old photos or listen to songs they once loved. Some shed tears, some smile, and some simply squeeze your hand and whisper, "Thank you." It is a sacred moment. But sadly, many families miss the depth of it. They may be there physically, but not emotionally. They misread the energy as a sign of improvement, thinking everything is returning to normal. They step away to make dinner or run a quick errand. They say, "I'll come back tomorrow," when she's even better. But sometimes, tomorrow does not come. This surge, this rally, is not a promise of more days. It is the gift of one final meaningful moment. And if you ever find yourself in that moment, do not walk away. Cancel your plans. Turn off your phone. Move in close and stay. Be present in that rare and glowing space. Hold their hand. Speak with them. Laugh, cry, or simply sit quietly and let them know how much they mean to you. Let them see that you understand that this is not a beginning, but a beautiful end, that this may be their final page, and you are there with them, not hoping for more time, but honoring the time that is left. This might be the clearest goodbye they will ever give you. And if you have seen this, if someone you care for rallied just before they left, then you know how powerful it is, and you know how deeply it can cut. Type yes in the comments if you've experienced this moment, if you've seen that brief return of light before the quiet came. Because even when it is recognized only in hindsight, it still holds great meaning. It tells you that you were there, that you saw their last offering dot, and now, as we look back on these 5 quiet yet powerful signs, loss of appetite, withdrawal from others, deepening tiredness, emotional peace, and the final rally, we begin to notice something larger, a pattern, a quiet rhythm, a kind of language spoken by the body and the soul as they begin to let go. These signs do not come with loud warnings or big displays. They slip in gently through uneaten food, quiet afternoons, long rests, tender moments of truth, and one bright day of presence. Now that you know how to see them, you carry something far greater than fear. You carry understanding. You have the awareness to notice what others might not. You have the ability to acknowledge what is unfolding rather than trying to reverse it. You now have the chance to stay present in the meaningful instead of escaping the sadness. So, what can you do after noticing these signs in someone you care about? You can slow your pace. You can choose to sit quietly beside them. You can stop looking for solutions and simply offer love. You can hold their hand in the silence. You can smile even when they cannot recall your name. You can listen patiently, even if their stories fade midway. You can play a song they once cherished. Most of all, you can be fully there with kindness and appreciation. Because when the final chapter comes, it is not about how many days you had, it is about how deeply you shared them. If this video touched you in any way, type yes in the comments. If you have seen any of these signs in someone close to you, your words might be the comfort someone else is waiting for. And if this message meant something to you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We create content that respects aging, honors family, and speaks to the quiet path we all walk in. Thank you for being here. Stay grounded, stay connected, and above all, hold close every moment you still have with the people who matter most.